Spring-Heeled Jack first slithered into the public imagination back in the autumn of 1837, when London was already a city on edge from rapid industrialization and flickering gas lamps that barely held back the night. The earliest solid report came from a servant girl named Mary Stevens, who was walking home from visiting her parents in Battersea. Out of nowhere, a dark figure leaped from the shadows, grabbed her, kissed her violently, and tore at her clothes with what felt like icy metallic claws before bounding away into the darkness. The very next day, the same entity supposedly sprang in front of a speeding carriage on the road nearby, causing it to crash, then vaulted a 9-foot wall and vanished. Those two incidents alone lit the fuse. Newspapers picked it up, and suddenly every strange noise or shadow in suburban London got blamed on this leaper. What strikes me is how quickly a single weird encounter snowballed into something bigger. Victorian England was primed for it, full of old ghost stories mixing with new fears of the unknown in a city that never quite felt safe after dark. The panic really boiled over in February 1838 with two high-profile attacks that made the front pages and sent vigilante groups patrolling the streets. On the 19th, 18-year-old Jane Alsop answered a frantic knock at her family home in Bow, convinced it was a policeman yelling that they'd caught Spring-Heeled Jack nearby. Instead, the figure in a white oilskin cloak spat blue-white flames in her face, clawed at her neck and arms until her clothes hung in ribbons, and only fled when her sisters dragged her back inside. A week later, young Lucy Scales and her sister were walking home from their brother's house in Limehouse when the same clawed horror sprang from an alley, breathed fire into Lucy's face, and scratched her badly enough to leave her in convulsions. These weren't vague rumors anymore. They were specific, terrifying assaults on ordinary young women. You can almost feel the collective dread, Londoners locking doors early, parents warning daughters to stay off the roads after dusk, all while the press fanned the flames with sensational headlines. It wasn't just crime, it felt personal, like something ancient and agile had decided to toy with the modern world. What made Spring-Heeled Jack stick in the collective memory wasn't just the violence, it was the theatrical, almost impossible way he moved and looked. Witnesses described a tall, thin man in a tight white suit or brass-studded armor, sometimes with a helmet, always with glowing red eyes, pointed ears, and a high, maniacal laugh that echoed as he bounded away. The springs in his heels, hence the name, let him clear walls, rooftops, even carriages in a single leap, and that blue flame he exhaled added a demonic flourish no ordinary thug could match. Sightings kept popping up for decades. The Black Country in the 1880s, where he haunted pub roofs and churchyards, scattered reports in the Midlands and Scotland, even a supposed finale in Liverpool as late as 1904. The consistency across 60-plus years is eerie. Same leaping, same claws, same fire-breathing showmanship, yet no one ever caught him. It's like he was custom-built for the era's penny dreadfuls and stage melodramas, a perfect bogeyman who preyed on the anxieties of a society obsessed with progress but still half convinced the devil walked among them. The theories about who, or what, he really was say as much about us as they do about him. The most grounded explanation points to a prank gone wild, possibly pulled off by bored young aristocrats like the Marquis of Waterford, nicknamed the Mad Marquis for his wild bets, drunken antics, and well-documented contempt for the lower classes. A letter to the Lord Mayor even named a group of rich troublemakers wagering they could terrorize London undetected. Others chalk it up to mass hysteria layered over earlier ghost panics, like the Hammersmith ghost of 1803, or maybe a circus acrobat practicing night jumps in a flashy costume. Skeptics note that once the story hit the papers, copycats almost certainly joined in, turning one hoax into a self-sustaining legend. Then there are the wilder ideas, demons summoned by occult dabblers, or even an extraterrestrial visitor whose fire was some kind of chemical discharge and whose leaps came from a high-gravity homeworld. None of them fully explain the longevity or the lack of arrests, which is what keeps the mystery alive. In an age before forensics or CCTV, a clever man or men with springs in his boots could play the devil convincingly enough to haunt an entire nation. Even now, Spring-Heeled Jack feels like the original urban cryptid, the grandfather of Mothman or Slender Man, a figure born from fear, media hype, and the very human need to explain the unexplainable. He never killed anyone that we know of, yet he left scars on the Victorian psyche deeper than many real criminals. His story reminds me how quickly a city can tip into collective paranoia when the lights go out and something unpredictable starts leaping through the shadows. Whether he was a rich kid's cruel joke, a series of unfortunate coincidences, or something stranger, the fact that we're still talking about him almost 2 centuries later proves one thing. Some legends don't need to be caught to stay immortal. They just need to keep jumping just out of reach.